Hello everyone, welcome back to another night airport update of my fictional Knoxville International Airport, which is now renamed Knoxville Expo 86 International Airport. Sort of a tribute to the original name that I had for like the demo of this airport becoming a reality before the hiatus of myself on this channel. I have another night update today. As I said, this update happening at 9 p.m., so later than our previous night update. So some different aircraft in here, and some other summer seasonal services that we haven't seen yet, and a new model as well. So without wasting any further time, we'll get started right here with this American A321. This is in the Piedmont Heritage livery. This is arriving in from Dallas-Fort Worth. It'll be heading out to Phoenix later tonight. Next up here we have the WestJet 737-700. This aircraft is about to pull on to runway 9 left, and this will be heading out to Calgary. Here is the Delta A330-200. This aircraft will be soon heading out to Rome. Also arrived in from there. We'll move over to the American section, the American gates, with the 737-800. This aircraft will be heading out to Chicago O'Hare and arrived in from New York JFK. Here is the 738 with the logo on the winglet. This one is in from Miami, and it'll be heading back out there. And this A318 is getting loaded up for Philadelphia, another turn. Over to Delta with this CRJ-900. This aircraft arrived in from, let's see here, this one arrived in from Birmingham, Alabama, and is now getting loaded up and will be making the service out to Norfolk. Here's the Delta A330-900neo. This aircraft arrived in from Amsterdam, and it is now soon going to be pushing back for the return service back out to Amsterdam. Here is the Delta 757-300. This aircraft arrived in from Seattle, Tacoma, and will be heading out to Los Angeles, LAX. The A320 right here arrived in from LaGuardia, New York LaGuardia, and will be heading back out there. And here we have the 737-900 in from Boston Logan, and we'll be heading out to Seattle Tacoma. And we have an A318 right here. This aircraft arrived in from Raleigh Durham and will be heading out to Austin, Texas. Pushing back right here, we have the Icelandair 757-200 heading out to Reykjavik, Keflavik, of course. This is in the Hekla Aurora livery. Unfortunately, that's not flying anymore, but the 757 still is. A couple of them still are for Icelandair, so that is why we see this aircraft still on the service. Of course, I do have backups for one. Unfortunately, the 75 is retired, but a gorgeous aircraft right here in the Hekla Aurora livery. We have the Southwest 737 MAX 8 right here. This aircraft arrived in from Chicago Midway. We'll be heading out to Kansas City. And here we have the 737-700. This aircraft made its way in from Austin, and it will be pushing back for Denver. And here we have the 737-800. This is in the Triple Crown 1 livery. And this aircraft arrived in from Fort Lauderdale, and there was a medical emergency on board. That's why we see an ambulance and a fire truck here, and they are assisting that passenger getting off the aircraft. So hopefully they will be okay, and they'll be transported to a local hospital, but never good to see a medical emergency on board the aircraft, unfortunately. That is what happened right here. So yeah, this aircraft arrived in from Fort Lauderdale and will be heading out to, this will be heading out to Phoenix. Here we have the Sun Country 737-800. This aircraft arrived in from Cozumel, Mexico on a charter service, and it had to park here to go through customs, and the aircraft will eventually be towed over to the charter terminal all the way over there where the Avella was parked. And not sure exactly where it will be heading off to from there, potentially a repo back to Minneapolis, St. Paul, but yeah, this one arrived in from Cozumel and is currently, the passengers are going through customs. I'll knock out this Allegiant before we go on to Frontier. We have this Allegiant A319. This aircraft arrived in from Destin, Fort Walton Beach, and it will be heading out to Las Vegas, Harry Reid. And here we have the Frontier A320neo in the Poppy the Prairie Dog tail. This aircraft will be soon heading out to Dallas-Fort Worth, and it arrived in from Tampa, Florida. Here we have the A321neo. This aircraft arrived in from Las Vegas, and it'll be heading out to Denver. And we have the A321 right here in the Cubby the Bear livery. This aircraft in from Cancun, and will be heading out to Chicago O'Hare. Here we have the Delta A220-300. This aircraft arrived in from Cincinnati and is now taxiing out for Washington, D.C.A. Here's the JetBlue A320 in the Spotlight tail, the new Spotlight tail, I guess. Gorgeous aircraft right here by NG. This one is in from New York JFK, and we'll be heading back out there. Here's the Air Canada A320 in from Toronto Pearson, and is also on the turn. We have a United 767-300, which arrived in from London Heathrow. This is the second daily service to London on United, and we'll be heading back out there. And here is the Swiss A330-300, which will soon be heading out to Zurich. We have the Lufthansa A380 on the Munich service, also will soon be departing. And here is the United 787-8, which arrived in from Chicago O'Hare, and we're heading out to Denver. Here is the 737-700, which has arrived in from, let's see here, this one is in from, let's go Buffalo, New York, and we'll be heading out to Bangor, Maine this evening. We have the E175 right here, heading out to Portland, Maine, and arrived in from Toronto Pearson. Here we have the 737-800, and this aircraft is in from Milwaukee, and this will be staying overnight, and we'll be making the morning service out to Atlanta tomorrow morning. We have the MAX 9 right here. This is pushing back. We'll be making the service on over to Las Vegas, Harry Reid, and it arrived in from Houston. Here is the A321neo. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Seattle, and it arrived in from Las Vegas. Here we have the 737-900, which will be heading out to Minneapolis, St. Paul this evening, and it arrived in from Chicago O'Hare. Taxiing in right here, we have the 737-800. This is in the Star Alliance livery, making the service in from, let's see here, this is making the service in from Orlando today, and we'll be making the, well, it's going to be staying overnight and then making the flight out in the morning to Boston. And we have the E319 right here in from Jacksonville, Florida, also an overnight. This one will be heading out to Pittsburgh. And we have another E175 right here, another Mesa operated one. This aircraft is in from Columbus, Ohio, and we'll be heading out this evening, still over to Cincinnati, Ohio. Here we have the CRJ 550 from South Bend, Indiana, and it'll be heading out to, what are some CRJ 550 routes? Richmond, Virginia. And here is the CRJ 440. This one is soon going to be pushing back for the service out to, let's see here, what else we got? And I guess this would be more regional, wouldn't it? We'll send it up to Memphis. And now we'll move our way all the way back over. Oh, if this will be in focus, that would be nice. There we go. Here is the Qatar 777-300ER. This is in the World Cup 2022 livery. Of course, this is now outdated as we are already past the World Cup of 2026. Congratulations to Spain. I wish FIFA would get their head out of their behind and fix this corruption thing, but I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon. Next up here we have the United Express E175. This is a Republic-operated one, and this one arrived in from Montreal and is now taxiing out. We'll be making the service to, let's see here. This one will go to Syracuse, New York. Here's the United 757-200. This is in the New York, New Jersey livery and is taxiing out for San Francisco. And it arrived in from Newark. And here's the UPS 757-200. This one's taxiing in currently to Louisville. Here's the Condor A330-3 or A330-900 Neo rather, heading out to Frankfurt. That one also will be departing relatively soon. The Virgin Atlantic 787-9 Dreamliner. This one is in from London Heathrow, and we'll be heading back out there. This is another summer, both of these are summer seasonal services. And this is for the summer. I believe we have six services out to London, and Virgin Atlantic operates one of them. Here's the Finnair A350-900. This is a new model right here. This is in the Moomins livery, and I love the Moomins livery. Gorgeous. Unfortunately, the only one that they had left was in flaps down, so unfortunately we have a flaps down model, but what are you going to do about it? So this Finnair A350 arrived in from Helsinki, and we'll be heading back out there. This is a summer seasonal service on Finnair. And here's the Air France 777-300 ER heading out to Paris Charles de Gaulle, and also arrived in from there. That one has the pushback tug attached, and we'll be pushing as soon as the taxiway is clear. Next up here we have the EVA Air 777-300 heading out to Taipei, and it also arrived in from there. Just arrived in. The cargo is getting unloaded right there. Passengers are disembarking from Taipei. And here we have the Turkish Airlines 787-9. This is also a new model actually, although I've had it for a little while, just haven't been able to get into an update yet. But I'm glad to get a new Turkish Airlines aircraft, as the A330 was a little bit too small for this service. So we have it on the 787 now, and that is much more realistic. This one in from Istanbul, and we'll be heading back out there. Here we have the Frontier A320. This is taxiing out for, let's see here, what do we have left? Houston, and it arrived in from, let's say this one arrived in from Atlanta. Here we have the Delta A321 Neo. This one also arrived in from Atlanta. It's actually taxiing in. This is an aircraft replacement. This will be making the Seattle service, as the aircraft that was going to be making that service had a mechanical issue, and we will actually get into that in just a little bit here. It'll be coming up in just a few aircraft. We'll now make our way over into the cargo area, beginning with this FedEx feeder, ATR 72, which is doing the turn from Memphis, of course. Here we have the Lufthansa cargo, 777 freighter, I should say. First time getting this aircraft in an airport update, and I'm super excited about it. love this aircraft. I mean, there's nothing much to it, but glad to get some more cargo variety in here. This is in from Frankfurt, and we'll be heading back out there. We also have the LAN Cargo, LAN Chile, or I guess it's now LATAM. This aircraft is technically out of date in terms of the livery, but this one arrived in from Medellin, and we'll be heading out to Miami. We have another MAX 9 right here for United. This aircraft taxiing in, made its way in today from Boston Logan, and we'll be heading out to Houston Intercontinental. Here is the Delta A321neo in the 100 years livery. This is another new model. This is the aircraft that the previous A321neo for Delta that we covered is replacing. This aircraft had an issue with one of its engines, and they had to, or rather, I came up with this story like 2 weeks ago, and now I'm trying to remember for this aircraft. It actually had a hard landing, and they ended up having to do a landing gear inspection. So that's actually the reason why this one has been taken out of service for the time being. They have to do a landing gear inspection to make sure that this one, landing gears are still okay after this one landed really hard on arrival to here from LAX. So that's why this one's currently standing here, and we'll hopefully be okay and be able to head out probably back to Atlanta tomorrow morning. But I guess we'll see on that. Over here we have the DHL 737-800 freighter. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Cincinnati in just a little bit here, although just a little bit for this aircraft is like an hour and a half because it leaves at like 10:30 at night. And it's always in these airport updates because it arrives in it at like 7 a.m. and is here all day until 10 p.m. So that's why that one is always here. But a little bit is kind of realistic in this case. Here we have the United Express E145, Commuter Air E145. This one is just going to be sitting here overnight. They towed it over here. This one made the service in today from Norfolk, and we'll be heading out to Roanoke tomorrow morning. Here we have the Avelo 737-800. This aircraft is in on a sports charter today, so that's very interesting. We'll say it arrived in from, just gonna come up with a destination off the top of my head, I guess. Let's go Fargo, and it'll be heading out to New Haven on just a repo flight back out to New Haven, and from Fargo here. Glad to see Avelo also in the charter terminal right here. We also have the Honeywell 757-200 with the extra engine and all. This one is very soon going to be heading out to Phoenix. Here we have the United MAX 8. This aircraft is taxiing in from, or rather it arrived in earlier from St. Louis and is taxiing out to Washington Dulles. And our final aircraft, as always, is the UPS MD-11 right here. It's still going to be sitting here potentially forever. They still have not moved the one at MSP, and I'm starting to wonder if they will ever move the MD-11 that is still grounded at MSP. But that should be it. We have our fire training plane. We have our UHB demo aircraft that always sit here and do nothing. But that'll do it for all the aircraft here at the airport, Knoxville Expo 86 International Airport. Hope this was an exciting update. We'll try to mix it up with the time frame a little bit again for the next one, introduce a different time of day, and hopefully get some new aircraft in here that we've not seen yet. But that'll do it for this airport update. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next one and some other content coming out shortly. They won't all be airport updates. I will see you in the next one. As always, kia ora, good night, and auf Wiedersehen.